I've got the honor to bring up our next guest, who has led every level of public service, from Los Angeles to Sacramento to Washington. He's the former U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he was the first Latino to have that position. He's also the former Attorney General of the great state of California. And you may remember, if you're old enough, that he was also a congressman representing downtown Los Angeles. And now he's running for governor of California. Join me in welcoming Mr. Secretary Xavier Becerra. Yes.
Here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us here at Visionarios.
Russ, thanks for having me, but I'm not happy you have me after a comedian.
Oh, no. we got a little show here, so don't worry. So before we get started, before we talk about what you're doing now, I want to go back and I want you to set the record straight for us. During your term as Health Secretary, you inherited a global pandemic. Many people don't know that you were also in charge of dealing with children who are migrants,
Yes.
right? But I got a lot of calls during that time from Latino Democrats to say, look, we got to rally around the secretary because we're hearing things that the administration, people within the administration, specifically a woman named Susan Rice, who was a domestic policy advisor, somehow either saying horrific things about you or getting in the way of your duties. So set the record straight. Were there people in the administration trying to stop you or getting in the way of you doing your job?
Russ, what I'd say is you have an administration, a White House, that always wants to get things done. And they want the secretaries to make sure they're on top of it. And so when you have to deal with thousands of people dying every day of a pandemic, and you've got to get millions of vaccines distributed throughout the country, when you've got health insurance coverage nosediving because people are losing their jobs and their insurance, and when you've got to deal with the migrant children who are unaccompanied by an adult at the border, secured in a place that's not a detention facility with ICE, you got a lot of work to do. So it was get this done. So they were constantly on me because these were crises that we had to deal with. Fortunately, no one's wearing masks here. No one's dying of COVID. I suspect most of us here have health insurance coverage. And most of the kids that we took care of were in good shape. I can't tell you what's going on with them now because it's a very, very different deal with those migrants' kids. But what I can tell you is that when the president asks you to get some stuff done, you better get it done.
So you have no hard feelings about the way they treated you or anything like that?
You got to get stuff done. And the White House isn't in the Department of Health and Human Services. They got to expect that the secretary is going to get 90,000 people in that department to get things done.
My colleague, Alex Thompson, he wrote a book about Joe Biden and his health decline. He had in a chapter that the president confused you with Secretary Mayorkas. Yes, you're both Latino. One's Mexican-American, one's Cuban. Some people would say that's real offensive. But did you see anything like that with the president, and how did he respond as he was getting older?
You know, a lot's been said about that. I was at that cabinet meeting. I was not present physically. I was on Zoom. And I'm not sure how it happened. It may have been that the president confused. You know, it's not the first time Latinos have been confused, right? We all look alike, right? Even the men and the women. I remember where presidents used to eat the husk on a tamal because they didn't know how to do that.
President Gerald Ford, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So I wasn't there physically present, but what I can tell you is that when it came time to getting COVID resolved, when it came time to getting more people insured, he knew my name.
He did. Oh. The person that has replaced you, someone by the name of Robert Kennedy Jr., he has very different ideas than you. He's been telling pregnant women not to take Tylenol because of autism risk. There's no evidence or data. He's alleged that vaccines may cause autism, no evidence or data. What's your reaction to this?
Por favor. It's time for another Latino to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. or anybody.
Knowing that you operated the department, what do you think of the risk there if we keep this type of information going?
Okay, now let's get serious. My wife is a high-risk OBGYN. She treats women who are pregnant, are having difficulty delivering. When you are a woman and pregnant and you get sick and you start to get a fever, if you don't take care of that, if that fever gets too high, you're not just getting sick, you're endangering your fetus, your baby of the future, and you have to control that fever. Tylenol is the principal way over the counter that women who are pregnant do that. When you have someone who's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, all of a sudden says to you, Tylenol may be dangerous, what message is that pregnant woman supposed to take? And so what I can say to you is, this is real, this is reckless, it's dangerous, and it will take lives.
You could right now make millions. You've served time, you've done public service.
Serve time, okay, that's a little...
No. I just came back from Homeboy Cafe, so that's my mindset.
I'm trying to follow the comedian. She did a good job. I'm trying to keep pace.
But seriously, you could make millions in going into the private sector. What is drawing you to maintain public service and run for governor of California? You can do whatever you want, but why are you doing this?
I'm blessed. I'm the son of a father who got to the 6th grade. And I suspect many of you have the same story, right? My dad was the oldest of 8, had to start working right away. My mother didn't come to this country till she married my dad when she came from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. And yeah, that's not one word, right? That's Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But in Spanish, it's better.
Right.
And so you learn real quickly when you're son of immigrants, your parents never had a chance to step into a college classroom, you got to work pretty hard. But I will tell you that I am where I am because I had people who always lifted me up. Now it's my turn to lift people up, and that's why I'm running for governor.
Now 2026 can tell us how improved the Democratic brand is, right? This last election, the Democratic brand got really hit hard. I was in the Coachella Valley yesterday, and farm workers told me people are really scared. They're not going to work. Someone may be working and say the husband's not working because they're worried about their status. There's 3 families that have been moving to a 3-bedroom home, right? People are worried about money, kids are going to school. You are Mexican American. You saw what went on in June here in the city of Los Angeles. As governor, what can you do about this current environment? Raids, scare, fear.
You stand up. One of the things that I've said is I'm going to be California's healthcare governor. You know that there's talk that we're going to have to pull back on healthcare because the Trump administration pulled $1 trillion, not a million, not $1 billion, $1 trillion out of healthcare in the program that helps people who are working class, lower income. And that's going to hit our population a great deal. He's also now putting the Affordable Care Act coverage for 24 million people in real jeopardy because the subsidies are going to go away and the price for your premiums are going to skyrocket by, in some cases, doubling or tripling. What I'm saying to folks is, especially those working families, immigrant families, is, aquí en California, no. We're not going that way. We're not going backwards. We're going to make sure that we continue to move forward. We are on the precipice in California of having universal health care coverage for all of California's residents. I said all of California's residents. I didn't say all of California's citizens. I said all of California residents. If I'm governor, we're getting there because we're not excluding anybody, including those immigrant families that work hard every day. It would be foolish for us to cut access to health care to them because they're still going to use the healthcare system. When your child is ailing, you may wait a while because you don't have the money to pay, but at some point, if your child gets so sick, you're going to go to the hospital. And if you can't pay, guess what? You and I will pay, whether through our taxpayer dollars or through our increased premiums because those hospitals will pass those costs on to those of us who have insurance. So why pay later? The 2 greatest Americans I could tell you on healthcare, one, you probably remember, he said it about 160 years ago. Frederick Douglass said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." We're repairing a whole bunch of broken men and women instead of building strong children. But perhaps even better was the other great American you'll probably know less, Maria Teresa Becerra, my mom. She said, "Mijo, mejor prevenir que remediar." It is always better to prevent than to remediate. I'm going to prevent that family from not having access to care for their child so I can build a strong child in the future, not wait till they get broken and then try to repair them and spend so much of your taxpayer money to repair broken people. We can do this right. We just don't follow the course they put out there for us in Washington, D.C. Those man-made disasters, we'll take them on.
And lastly, Secretary, Donald Trump got a lot of the Latino vote in this past election, historic number.
Don't ask me about that one.
But one of the things I was talking to some of the farm workers in Coachella Valley, one has said they feel some Democrats are out of touch. And she said, look, I went to a meeting talking about climate change and all kinds of contamination in Coachella Valley. We went around, talked to environmentalists who were white, and they said, yes, we agree. We need to have air conditions in stables for horses because the horses are in danger. This woman says, who cares about the caballos? What about the farm workers? There seems to be a disconnect with some Democrats, and they maybe mean well, but they're not focusing and alienating some people like her, who she may vote for Trump. How do you reach those voters?
Well, first I'd say, how is she liking Trump now? Now that it's not just the promises, but it's actually now the delivery, where you wanted to shake things up, you didn't expect that he would shake you up. And that's what's happening to all these families. But what I will say is this, sometimes leaders do go too far, too fast, and they get ahead of their skis, and they leave all the people who are supposed to follow behind. And it's tough for a family who's struggling just to pay the rent to be expected to change out the gas stove for an electric stove because that's what you should do. We should do that in the future whenever we can, but you can't expect a working class family to follow when they don't have the money to do it. And I think we can really quickly solve that because California is not going to go backwards. Some of you you're not old enough, but in the 60s in LA, you could not let your kids play outside because the air was so thick and dirty from pollution. It was so contaminated. Those days are gone. It's still dirty air, but it's not as dirty as it was. So we can't go backwards. But what I will tell you is this. We're not going to lead without bringing everybody with us. Just as I said, I'm leaving nobody behind when it comes to health care. We're going to make sure all those families that work very hard, like my parents, have a chance to do everything that the California dream is all about. So we'll learn from the lesson of getting ahead of our skis. Actually, most Latinos don't ski, so maybe I should say.
No, I've never. No.
But we won't go so fast and so far that we leave behind all the families that we need, the muscle we need to get these things done. But make no mistake, my dad a construction worker, my mom a clerical worker, they built California. They deserve to be part of the winning strategy that includes them in the prosperity. That's what we'll do for this generation of construction workers and clerical workers, or college graduates, or scientists, whatever you are, you got a place in California.
Let me get this in front of everybody, see if I can get this promise of you. If you're elected governor, will you come back to Visionarios?
I'm back right away. So.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for the conversation and for your time with our community.